On point. For most of its existence, the ANC Youth League has played a powerful role in the politics of the ANC and therefore of South Africa. The rise and fall of the ANC Youth League tells the history of the ANC Youth League from its formation in 1944 to the present day. The book explores the radicalizing role played by its early leaders such as Nelson Mandela, Walter Sisulu and Tambo, the formation of the ANC Youth and Students Section in Exile, first led by Thabo Mbeki, the return from exile in the 1990s, amongst other topical themes. So we're going to be joined by the author Rebone Tau to talk more about the book. But it's actually quite interesting because at this particular point, as I mentioned, it talks about that student section in exile that was led by Thabo Mbeki. And also, it makes mention of the return from exile in the 1990s and the leadership of Peter Mokaba. It goes into the controversies around the presidency of Julius Malema and his subsequent sacking, as well as the absence of Youth League leadership in the hashtag Fees Must Fall movement. To get into that, those aspects, we are joined by Rebone Tau. Rebone, thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
Good afternoon and good afternoon to the viewers. Thank you for having me on your show this afternoon.
So let's talk about the inspiration for the book. What triggered it?
Well, for me, when I saw the absence of the Youth League in 2015 in terms of the Fees Must Fall campaign, and I thought, well, I think there's never been a book written on the ANC Youth League, and this gives me an opportunity so that we can account, for the history of the Youth League, because in most cases it's hearsay, people giving their own version. But with this, because it was a well-researched book, I spoke to different leaders of the Youth League pertaining their eras and the challenges that they faced, and they were able to account. So it made things easy so that no one can dispute or question certain things.
So from the research that you've done and the people you spoke to, what do we know about the formation of the ANC Youth League in the early to mid 1940s? What was the catalyst for starting that particular organization?
Well, I've made reference to the book of, I think, Tambo, in terms of the beginning, in terms of the formation of the Youth League. But when you look at how the Youth League came about, it's because of the ANC was more an elite organization, and they were more about writing petitions, whether to the apartheid government then or to the Queen, requesting, intervention on how Black people are treated, in particular in this country. And the ANC Youth League, the generation of 1944, felt that the ANC needs to change how it approaches the struggle. And that's why around 1952, you start to have like your defiance campaign, that shows the character of the ANC started changing, that the ANC started now becoming a mass organization, which is now rooted within the communities, within the people, because in the beginning, the ANC was not really rooted within the communities and within the people. So you start to have your defiance campaign. You start to have like also a program of action, which was adopted in 1948 at the ANC conference when Moroka became the president of the ANC. And this program of action was the Youth League that said, this is how things must be done in advancing the struggle, And when they went to Kuma and presented, because Kuma at the time was the president, and said, we feel that if you support this program of action as the Youth League, we'll support you for your presidency. And Kuma was not comfortable with that, because of the radicalism that the Youth League was coming with, the militancy that the Youth League was coming with, and taking the struggle to another level. So, and then that's when they approached Moroka, and Moroka agreed, and he said he will support that program of action of the Youth League. And then we saw that Moroka emerging as the president of the ANC. But the Youth League was able to lobby ANC leaders based on a program of action which guided the struggle or the challenges facing the people of South Africa.
When you look at the standards of, education, intellectual, moral and ethical leadership within, the ANC in the 1940s, what comparison can be made between the 1944 generation and the subsequent generations?
The 1944 generation, most of them, are people who went to school, who went to fought most of them. That's why even in the first chapter, one of the people that I interviewed was Prince Mangosu Buthelezi, because he was a member of the Youth League from 1948 to 1915 Fortier. So in the main, you had a lot of Fortier students who were actually members of the Youth League. It produced a lot of youth leaguers. But one thing that they understood, that the revolution is the people. There can't be no revolution without the people. But they did not say, we'll pursue our careers like Mandela was a lawyer, which is known, but they thought that in the midst of everything, they will put the people of South Africa first before their own career paths.
When it comes to the role of women in the Youth League and any issues of patriarchy that may have existed, what do some of the people you spoke to share about their experiences?
I mean, if you check the Youth League since its formation, or since its relaunching in 1991, the Youth League has been able to produce 2 female secretary generals. The first one being Phoebe Porgieter, who's the current general manager of the ANC. The second one being Buisa Tulelwa, who emerged under Julius Malema's first term, who's now currently South African ambassador to New Zealand. But I remember when I spoke to the late Ignatius Jacob, who was the Treasurer General of the Youth League in 1991, one thing he was saying, because we're reflecting, looking at the era today, and they tried, the generation of 1991, to make sure that women are given space, women are supported, and that's why you had later Phoebe Porgieter emerging as the Secretary General of the ANC Youth League. But we're looking at how over the years, women have been reduced to just a mere number within the organization, because if you look at, in the most cases, you'll only have one woman in the top 5, and it's a favor, and most of the time they become the deputy Secretary General, we can even see with the ANC at this present moment, coming from Nazareth, the women were the biggest losers, because before Nazareth, you had Baleka Mbete, who was the national chair, and you had Jessie Duarte. But after Nazareth, you are remaining with only Jessie Duarte as the only woman in the top 6 of the ANC. So it shows that men continue to advance their own struggle and their own agenda, and don't see women to be of value to lead in certain positions.
Rebone, we're running out of time, but what do you want people to get out of this book?
This book, what people need to understand, if you want to understand the DNA of this country and the democracy that we're enjoying today as South Africans, is because of the role that the Youth League played. Because that generation of 1944 brought us political freedom in this country, and you can't separate even this best constitution that we have is based. It comes from the generation of 1944. You can look at the Bill of Rights, that the ANC had when it was in exile. So it shows how they were visionaries, that generation. So South Africans must appreciate what the generation of 1944 has been able to deliver to them as a nation in terms of getting political freedom and the rights that we're enjoying today.
Yeah. Rebone, thank you so much for your time. That is Rebone Tau talking to us about her new book titled The Rise and Fall of the ANC Youth League. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll also go to the news before we have more news for you at the top of the hour.